Daddy gave me permission to date. Daddy gave me permission to date Margaret Walker.
One Sunday afternoon at dinner, my 10-year-old granddaughter disgustedly complained, "Boys only like one thing." Everybody inhaled. It was so quiet, you could have heard an ant crawling on cotton. And then she exclaimed, "PlayStations!" Many years earlier, my daddy had a similar concept, but with a slightly different conclusion. I remember it like it was yesterday. Madam Contestmasters, fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries, and most honored guests. It was my 16th birthday, and I got the best present ever. My parents told me that I had a good head on my shoulders, that I was very mature for my age, that I kept my grades above average, and that I had a good mental attitude. And for those reasons, Daddy gave me permission to date. I said, "All righty now," and I didn't waste any time. The next day, I brought Troy home to meet my family. I introduced Troy to Daddy first. Daddy snarled with contempt and then growled with apprehension. I proceeded to introduce Troy to my other family members, and when all introductions were complete, Daddy gently pulled me aside. "Sweetheart," he said, "he doesn't seem to be a very nice boy." You see, Daddy just couldn't get over Troy's afro puffs, his grill, his piercings, nor his tattoos. I said, "But he is a nice boy, Daddy. He's a very nice boy. Oh, Daddy, please. Troy is a very, very nice boy. He's kind, he's considerate, and he's a hard worker." Well, just this morning, Judge Joe Brown gave Troy 500 hours of community service. Daddy turned white. White like Michael Jackson. The hairs at the back of his neck stood to attention. His eyes blazed, his nostrils flared, and the corners of his lips curled. Daddy gnashed his teeth, stormed into his office, and slammed the door. 15 minutes later, he emerged with 400 pages of a few simple rules when dating my baby girl. Daddy ushered Troy out onto the patio, and there he began to lecture. "Now, young man, I know that you've had sex education in high school. It's part of your curriculum. And you have been taught that sex without a barrier method of some kind will kill you. Now hear this. If you think of having sex with my baby girl, I'm the barrier method, and I will kill you." Daddy's fury could have parted the Red Sea. Troy looked at me with frightened, puppy dog-looking eyes as though to yelp for help. But I wasn't going to say anything because Daddy had given me permission to date. Then Daddy led Troy over to a patio table, pulled out a chair, shoved him in the seat, rolled up a ballpoint pen, and then thrust a 5-inch thick manual into his chest labeled "An application to date my daughter." Daddy hovered over Troy like he was an air traffic controlman trying to fill out an application in Braille. Although the application began as a basic, simple application. Name, address, phone number. But Daddy had the application divided into sections. One section was the accessory section. Answer Y for yes or N for no to questions such as, do you own a pickup truck with a bed in the back? There was also a short answer section. 60 statements to be completed within 60 seconds. For example, up, down, in, out, the going rate of a hotel room. 10 hours later, exhausted, Troy laid his pen down, pushed himself away from the table and stood up. Daddy rushed over and shook his hand and thanked him for his interest, but warned it had best be genuine and non-sexual. Daddy told Troy to allow 4 to 6 years for processing. Don't call us. We'll call you. Daddy wrapped his arms around Troy's shoulder, pulled him close, and whispered, "Don't touch my daughter. I have a shotgun, a shovel, and 5 acres of land behind this house." Troy pried himself from Daddy's grip and sprinted out the front door at 50 miles an hour, leaving a cloud of blue smoke behind. I desperately wanted to call after Troy to give him one last opportunity to leave Daddy with a good impression. But I wasn't going to say anything because Daddy had given me permission to date. Instead, Daddy yelled, "You best believe in the hereafter! I know what you were here after." Matter of fact.